Welcome. This is the first episode of the rise of the Untamed Fox. This has been a long time in the coming. This has been something that I have dreamed about for so long, and I'm so grateful for this moment in time. I'm grateful for all of you for choosing to be here with me. I'm grateful for my team, my Dear Human team, for helping me get prepared for this. And I'm so excited for what is coming. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the rise of the Untamed Fox. Let me know that you're here. Drop into those comments. I want to know who's here live with me. I'd love for us together to set an intention for who we can be in this moment, an intention for what is possible for us and for the world. So let me know. This is called the rise of the Untamed Fox. Any ideas what that means? How are you hoping to untame yourself in this conversation? Set your intentions in those comments, and I cannot wait to get started. We'll just wait another second. All right, here we are. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited for you to be here today. Hello, and thank you for dropping in. Good morning, Jocelyn. Hello, Georgina. Hello, Stacia. Hello, Diane. Thank you for being here. Thank you for those of you who don't know me. Thank you for those of you who are coming and finding me just by mistake. My name is Susanne Goldstein. I am the founder and CEO of my company. It's called Dare Human, and Dare Human is all about activating humans to wake the fuck up and do something about this world that we live in. And oh my gosh, do I have something new for you today. So I want to start off just by setting some intentions and some kind of introductory rules, because we're going to be talking about topics that some people are not going to be happy with me about. I also want to know you to know, because this is my first time going live to YouTube, I am going to be checking my notes and making sure I'm doing all the right things. So this is our beginning, and this is our new platform where we'll hopefully no longer be censored anymore. We can speak freely about the things that matter to us. So if you are previously a fan of In the Know, I want you to know that that show ITK is not this show. This is a different experience. And so even though I will be covering some current events here and there, the intention of this show is different. The intention of this show is not to just share what's going on in the world. The intention of this show is to wake you up in learning how to use your voice for good in the size of stage that makes sense for you in this lifetime. Now, I can't tell, because I've never done this before, if I'm looking at you right here or if I'm looking at you right here. So I apologize. I'm getting used to a new technology, so bear with me. But if someone can let me know if when I look here, you're looking straight in my eyes, or when I look here, you're looking straight in my eyes, that would be super helpful to me. So this is not ITK. This is the rise of the Untamed Fox. And my hope is through this hour, and maybe a little bit, because I have a lot to tell you. Look ahead a bit. Look ahead up a bit, you mean? The second way, looking like this. That way you can see me. All right, that's odd for me, but I'm going to do it because I can't see my own eyes, and I'm used to seeing my own eyes. So maybe I'll do this, and that should be good. All right, so good morning, beautiful Untamed Fox. Thank you. Hello, Georgina. Hello, Stacia. Hi, Diane. My intention is to be the change I desire to see in the world. Yes, let's do more of that. Hello, Bhavna. I'm so happy you're here. Look at the foxes. Yes, yes, yes. Hi, Maggie. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, me too. The second way. Okay, good. The bottom is straight at us. Okay, now I'm confused. Hopefully this is working. Yes, the odd way for you is looking at us. Okay, perfect. So hopefully this is pretty good. So what I want to do here today is I want to establish a new way of being. This is an activated voice that I have been allowing to come through. It's different than what you've seen before. And the reason it's different than what you've seen before is because it is time for us to take this message to a bigger stage. A bigger stage. That's what we're looking to do here, because we need more people engaging and activating themselves in ways that are going to change this world. So the one thing I require here is that there is no blame, shame, or attack. If I say things that you don't like, feel free to unsubscribe from my channel. But if you say things that you do think you love and want to hear more of, please subscribe to my channel so that you will get alerts about when I go live and you can catch more and more of our show. I want to start off with some history. Thank you so much. I want to start off with some history of why this is called the rise of the untamed fox. There was a geneticist named Dmitry Belyayev. He's Russian, and I think the fact that the story that I base the Untamed Fox on is Russian and what's going on in our world currently is no coincidences. There are no coincidences in this world. And this man, Dmitry Belyayev, he believed in genetics. He believed in Darwin. He believed in what was called Mendelian evolution. It turns out that he lived in the era of Stalin, a place where they didn't believe in genetics. In fact, they thought genetics was considered fake science. You see where I'm going with this, right? At a time where he was looking to see if he could understand genetics in the human body, but also in terms of animal behavior and breeding domesticated animals. He was really deep into the genetic code of the foxes he worked with. Now, Stalin was not a fan of this because he thought that genetics was fake science. And so what Stalin decided to do is, after a period of time of him working for the government, he was fired and sent to Siberia. But he's a geneticist. And when you're in Siberia and you see lots of foxes running around, you start to get some ideas about what you want to do. You notice foxes that are more aggressive, foxes that are less aggressive. And he starts to really look and say, whoa, what's happening here? I think we can actually domesticate animals. And so he started doing experiments to allow this to happen. And he's really started to understand how dogs became dogs. This was his experimental world, except for Stalin wasn't a fan. Now, we all know what happens when you're an authoritarian government and the leader of that government is not a fan of the piece of work that you do in this world. And so he was banished to Siberia. Now, after a period of time, Stalin was no longer in power. The world started opening up more to the possibility of what Darwinism is, especially in Russia. And one of his collaborators, whose name is a woman named Ludmila Trut, she added in this piece to his work. So he was studying tame foxes and domestication. She started studying aggressive foxes and understanding what it means to be an aggressive fox. I'm so glad you can comment. Yay. I don't know who that is, but oh, that's Cheryl. I'm so glad you're here, Cheryl. Yay. I couldn't figure out how to comment on cell. Hope to open the laptop. Perfect. Thank you for being here. All right, I'm going to get back to it. So his protege, Miss Trut, continued working on aggressive foxes. Now, because I'm me and I need to understand things on a deep level, I actually started reading some scientific journal articles about the experiments that they did in this world. And what I learned is that there is literally a difference in the brain, a difference in the RNA. It's like DNA, but it's the replicating version of it, the RNA of aggressive brains versus tame brains. There's difference in the neurotransmitters. There's difference literally in the phenotype, what they look like. Aggressive foxes started having blacker fur. And the tamer foxes started having grayer fur, excuse me. And this was unbelievable to me, to think that, oh my goodness, you can actually change brains by how you breed things. So what does this have to do with today? What do aggressive foxes and tame foxes have to do with us? We're humans. Well, the truth of the matter is that I see this as a huge analogy. This breeding is an analogy for how people come together in groups, whether they be cultural, tribal, political, geographic. People tend to hang out with people who are like them. People tend to live in geographical areas where people have similar beliefs. We see this right now with people moving around the world to be in cultures that feel more like them. And as you're in these communities, as you're in these cultures and tribes, what happens is that you can become more indoctrinated in a way of being, a way of thinking. So I'm using this analogy. I'm not suggesting we're doing breeding of human experiments. I'm suggesting this analogy applies because if it changes the brain, if it changes the RNA, if it actually changes the phenotype, you can see where this is going. We see aggressive fox behavior all over the world right now. And there is one aggressive fox who is more aggressive than any other fox out there right now, and that is Vladimir Putin. This man has been bred by the KGB, by being in power in an authoritarian government, by being anti-democracy, by being someone who believes that he can pick and choose who can be wealthy and pick and choose what land should be part of his country. He is such an aggressive fox right now. I'm sure many of you have seen the bare-chested picture of him with a gun, how he poses as someone who can do whatever the fuck he wants. He doesn't care about people. He doesn't care about the planet. He cares about power. We also see Aggressive Fox from Donald Trump, homegrown here in my country, the United States. The people behind the Brexit campaign, the Leave campaign in the UK to leave the European Union. These are people who lead by force, by aggression, by disrespect for humanity and the earth. It is a kind of person. They're bred this way. They like to show up this way. It feels good for them to be this way. Their brains have been coded for this kind of behavior. There are also tame foxes out there. Quite a few. Many that you know of. But in terms of our world leader right now, world leaders right now, the most tame fox we see is President Joe Biden, President of the United States. Because Joe Biden just wants everybody to get along. He wants everybody to feel comfortable and happy. I happen to love Joe Biden, but the problem with a tame fox as a president is it's hard to stand up to truly aggressive foxes. You have to play their game to be part of it. So what do we do? So I want to talk a little bit about the problem with tame foxes. People who they just want to raise their vibes, and if they can just love more and spread more love and show more love and have more gratitude, we're all just going to get along and we're going to raise the vibrations of the planet. It's going to be amazing. Except for one thing. There are systems and structures in this world that exist, and they're deep. These systems and structures are planned to benefit certain groups of people and disbenefit other groups of people. So you choosing to raise your vibration alone is not going to be the thing that's going to change this planet in a way that we want to, that makes it sustainable in the long run. We're talking about extinction versus evolution here. But the problem with tame foxes is they don't want to take a stand. But what happens when you don't take a stand, when you're not watching, when you don't engage, is that you're looking away, and the aggressive foxes are remaking the world in their own image whenever they want to. We pretend that these systems and these structures do not exist. Because if we just raise our vibes, if we just ascend a little higher, then it'll all be better. Unfortunately, you incarnated into this earth for a reason as a human. You didn't come in as a tomato or a ladder. You came in as a human to help elevate humanity, which means you've got to get your hands dirty in humanity. There's another problem with tame foxes. I have a lot of crystals in my lap, and they just fell. There's another problem with tame foxes, and that's this. Tame foxes, when they have someone who steps forward to lead, expect 110% perfection in their leaders. One false move, and tame foxes will dethrone a leader. There is no second chances. And the opposite is true for aggressive foxes, because aggressive foxes love the aggression. The more aggression, better. So there's a story of Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of New York. He is an amazing tame fox. He believes in goodness and kindness and taking care of people and systems and structures that support the growth of all humans, not just some humans. And when he made a mistake, something that is not behavior that he should do, something towards women, something towards counting COVID cases in a way that was not accurate, he was ceremoniously ripped from his position, torn apart, and had to leave the governorship of New York. Now, he's done a million great things. He did two wrong things. And the tame foxes literally threw him under the bus. And on the other side, Donald Trump is caught on video with Billy Bush on a bus talking about how he can kiss anyone because he's a celebrity and he can grab any woman he wants in the down there parts. And you know what his followers did? They're like, let's make him president. They like the aggression. It makes them feel good. It talks to the altered RNA and DNA in their brains. Some people are programmed as tame foxes, and some people are programmed as aggressive foxes. I want to talk to the untamed foxes. These are good, kind people who see what's possible for the world, but they're willing to step up, to use their voice, to start to speak. It doesn't have to be that you're the biggest world changer. You don't have to start a YouTube channel. You can start in your own home. You can start in your own community. You can start in your own family. You can be on a small stage or a big stage. The size of your stage and the size of your impact is up to you and you alone. But the difference is this. You're willing to use your voice by looking up, by seeing what's actually happening in the world, and doing something about it, as opposed to praying and meditating and raising your vibes and hoping someone else will be the answer. Because while tamed foxes are doing that, while tamed foxes are praying and meditating and hoping someone else will change things, things are being changed. Things are being changed, and a world is being recreated in a way that works for the aggressive foxes, the things that they believe in around the world. It's not just here in the United States, it's everywhere. We have Vladimir Putin invading Ukraine, a peaceful, democratic country, bombing houses, bombing, communities of people, citizens. 3 million people have evacuated that country, a humanitarian crisis. And NATO and its allies won't step in because they don't want to start a world war. And Vladimir Putin knows that. I want to read you something. It's a bit long, but I ask you to stick with me. I was introduced to a book called Letters to a Starseed by my dear friend and collaborator, Georgina Elmer-Shady. This is a book by Rebecca Campbell. She is an ascended spiritual human who has her feet planted solidly on this earth. I'm going to read this to you because I mean, it's so important to hear. If there are pieces of it that resonate with you, feel free to drop them in the comments so you can remember them later. The book is called Letters to a Starseed, and this is from a chapter called What a Time to Come. Those of us standing here now on this planet must step forward and take responsibility for where we are as a species. We must let these times initiate us into taking consistent, grounded, genuine action. We're each the child of someone. We've learned our ways from those who did incredible things and those who didn't know any better. And those who didn't know any better, but decided to overlook what we must acknowledge where we are and how we got here. Now is the time to shift gears, to open our minds and our hearts to each other, to open ourselves up to solutions that are different from anything that has been thought of before, to fully commit to this planet and to each other and see the soul deeply into the earth. No more escaping to the heavens to avoid the density. We must be in this polar ship together. And no matter how divided and separated we are at the end of the day, we really are in this together. For too long, so many of us who are awake have dissociated ourselves from humanity. This could have happened as part of the awakening process or some kind of trauma. Sometimes difficult experiences cause us on some level to decide that the world is too harsh, too dense for us, too painful to be fully here. But this has the potential to be a new day, the beginning of a new era, even a summer, saying the potential for a new world. We have the opportunity to be the birthers of whatever it is that's possible. But there will be contractions. Labor, just like the awakening process, isn't smooth and easy. We're healing and clearing, processing and grieving, awakening and shifting just as we should, because no one is immune to this human experience. I believe that one of the goals at this time is to find a way to plant heaven on the earth, or rather recognize it's here, to weave the sacred back here. As above, so below. To remember the ancient ways and birth new ones to birth new ones too, or to remember where our soul is not recognized or received. if we're going to stand a chance of doing so, we must face all of the ways we've separated ourselves from the earth and each other. We're all children of history. And while our souls may have been part of creating history, we also know that the state of the world can't be the fault of any one person alone. If we're here now, it's because on some level our soul chose to be here now. It's very clear that the way we've been living and the harm we've been inflicting has to stop, or will be stopped once and for all. This is the greatest, most unfathomable healing of all. Until we do this, true oneness will never be possible. It's normal to feel what's happening is personal, because no one person is immune to what's happening in the world in this time. And no one person is alone in what's happening in the world in this time. May we remember our true nature. We are nature. And may we gain enough perspective to find a way from separation to planetary unity. This doesn't mean that the human experience will be all roses. Quite the contrary. This planet of poles, of opposites, of extremes, being human is extreme at the best of times. And we happen to be living in times that are very extreme. The polarity of this planet is real. The density of this planet is real. And we can't experience the bliss and the love, the oneness, without experiencing the polar. This is the human experience. We must embrace this. We must remember this. Now more than ever, it's time that we commit to our human experience, even if we're hurting, especially if we're hurting. As a species, we're experiencing a collective death and initiation. Alchemy is possible. And you're here as an alchemist. And I, Susanne, would add that you're also here as an advocate. Alchemy isn't all light and love. Quite the contrary. It requires that we dive deep into the unfathomable depths of the human experience in order to transmute it into gold, aka advocacy. Indeed, it's through darkness, through surrender, darkest of caves, to the mystery itself that true, unshakable, lasting, sustainable life and light and change then is possible. That was from Rebecca Campbell. Powerful stuff. She's saying that as spiritual beings, our job is to be here on the planet right now, not to just ascend, but to use our powers of ascension to change humanity, to change systems and structures that are putting profit before people and profit before planet. We've got to change. Boots on the ground, exactly. So I want to introduce you to this concept called the Untamed Fox. The Untamed Fox, not the tame one, not the aggressive one, the one in the middle who is kind and good. They were a tamed fox, but they have decided to unleash themselves. They have decided to untame themselves, to stand for what is good and right and do something about it, to use their voice, to use their feet on the ground, to bring their ascension to earth, because we need them. We need you. This is what the Untamed Fox has the ability to do. In our company, Dare Human, what we do is we teach people how to wake the fuck up and be a force for good in the world, to be an advocate. The Untamed Fox takes it one step further. Once you become der human, once you live der human, you activate your voice and you become an untamed fox. This is what we're hoping to do. We want to create a movement where people are willing to speak up for what they believe, so we can change the systems and the structures, and we can start paying attention to what is going on in this world. The size of the stage, as I said, is your choice. The concept is it's no longer okay to be quiet. I've noticed recently that Deepak Chopra, who is usually all about meditation, let's meditate, he is now speaking out about Ukraine, about Russia, about the karma that is coming Russia's way. He's finding his voice as an untamed fox. This, as I mentioned, is about extinction versus evolution. Untamed foxes are no longer willing to sit by the sideline and allow aggressive foxes to create the world that they want for themselves. If you look at what's happening in the world, you'll see the aggressive foxes in action. Here in the US, restrictions on voting rights in 19 states. Restriction of abortion rights in quite a few states. Restrictions of movement around the globe because of the requirement of vaccination. The power of corporations who can now vote and give money like US citizens to mold and shape and remake politics and policy in order for them to make more profit at the expense of people and the planet. I'm not okay with this. Are you? There are untamed foxes speaking up every day. But the problem is they're constantly being barraged and crushed by the forces, the powers of the aggressive foxes. People like Stephen Colbert, people like Rachel Maddow, people like Don Lemon, Chris Cuomo, who is my favorite commentator, Michael Smerconish. These are people who are speaking out, using their voices. David Pakman. So many men and women who are willing to be the untamed fox. They're willing to use their voice knowing that they might get attacked. I am prepared if the attacks come. I've done the foundational emotional intelligence work. I am ready. They can't hurt me. This is what it means to rise as an untamed fox. So I have a question for you. I want you to imagine right now that just like in Ukraine, where you live, in the city you live in, whether it's Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Plymouth, UK, British Columbia, wherever you are in the world, I want you to imagine that your place where you live, your city, your home, your town is being bombed right now. Right now. Sometimes it's hard because we think about people on the other side of the world and we're like, let's send some money. Let's make sure they get fed. Let's make sure that somebody has money and they're going to go do the work because we need people to take care of all these refugees. It's a crisis, out of food, out of water, out of no electricity. I want you to imagine that was happening where you live right now. How would you feel? What would you do? I want to take a minute and talk about the brave men and women in Ukraine who all of a sudden, without knowing it was an option, became untamed foxes. Regular, everyday people who are pouring out their alcohol so they can make Molotov cocktails. People like you and me, choosing to separate families so women and children can go be safe somewhere. And the men are staying to fight for their country. Would you be willing to take up arms? Would you be willing to protect your homeland? Most of us, we'd be like, okay, I'm worried about that, but I'm going to let someone else take care of it. And I want to tell you right here, right now, if you leave it to someone else to take care of it, they're going to take care of it the way they want the world to look. If you're okay with how the world looks, don't do a thing. But if you want the world to look different, we got to get off our asses and we got to start behaving differently. And it can't be just a small group of us. It's got to be a movement. The rise of the untamed fox is about learning to activate our voice, learning to take up proverbial arms or real arms to protect what we believe in. The Ukrainian people did not choose to have their cities bombed, but they are willing to step into their discomfort. They're not worried about whether they're going to be okay no matter what. They're actually worried, and they still move. They still do the thing because they have to. And they are fighting for the democracy because they've only had it for 30 years. And yet, in places that have been democratic for a long time, I've never seen so much laziness about democracy. People are looking away as voting rights are being taken. The Voting Rights Act, which has been moving through Congress forever, still hasn't been passed because there is a group of aggressive foxes who do not want certain people to vote because it means they will be voted out of office. So they're going to continue gerrymandering, moving boundaries of voting districts in their favor because we're not looking. Now, we have people in Congress in the United States who are trying to untame themselves, but most of them, scary to speak up because you might be attacked. Your family might be threatened. It's hard to be an untamed fox. There's a Russian woman. I'm going to get the pronunciation of her name basically 100% wrong. Marina Ovsyannikova. She's the editor at one of the news channels in Russia. Russian media has been completely restricted. In fact, Instagram was shut down in Russia 2 days ago because they don't want people to get information from the world because they are limiting, they're embargoing information to make sure that the messages only get out that they want. There's no difference between this and what happened in the Nazi era. The manipulation of people. If you say a lie enough, people will believe it. That's one of the central tenets of Adolf Hitler's books, Mein Kampf. This is how Trump got into power in the United States. If you say a lie enough times, people will believe it. So this woman is the editor at this news channel, and you may have seen the pictures. But while the newscaster was spewing the garbage, the propaganda of the Russian government, she walked by with a sign in the background. And if you saw her, let's give her some applause. And she said on the sign in Russian, "No war, stop the war. Don't believe the propaganda. They are lying to you here." If that's not an untamed fox move, I don't know what is. She was willing to go to jail for what she believed in. How willing are you to step out of the comfort of ordering food from DoorDash, wondering if your local grocery store has the kind of grapes you like? These are not problems. Those are just inconveniences. Real problems in the world need to be addressed by real people who care, who are kind, good people who want to untame themselves in their own way. You don't have to do what I'm doing. Do what you can do, but don't sit idly by and think our world is going to change in a way that you're going to like. There's a couple things I want to share with you historically that speak to this moment in time in very different ways. The Dalai Lama in 2010 at the Vancouver Peace Summit famously said the words, "The world will be saved by Western women." I love the Dalai Lama, but I could not disagree more. Because Western women are complacent. Not those of us on this call, but they are complacent. And they may be Karens and Beckys who don't even understand how much privilege they have. The Dalai Lama was wrong. Because right now, Western women are not empowered to make a change. And the Dalai Lama went directly against what Martin Luther King wrote from the Birmingham jail in 1963. He says, "I've been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's greatest stumbling block in the stride towards freedom is not the white citizens counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace with the absence of tension to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice." Who do you want to be? If you are hashtagging "I am an untamed fox," what does that mean? What are you willing to do? What discomfort are you willing to go through? I remember when I started speaking as an ally, a white ally of Black people. It was a huge risk because there are some people who did not want to hear me say these things. There were Black people who thought I had no right to say it, and there were white people who were really uncomfortable with the fact that I aligned myself with a movement that centered on Black and brown people. I lost credibility with some people. I lost status with some people. In order to be a change maker, in order to be an untamed fox, you have to risk losing friends, to risk a comfortable life. You have to be willing to do something different than what we're doing in our complacency. Because we like order. We don't like when people are late. We don't like when we don't have signage about where to go. We, as moderates, mostly white people on this call, but I'm sure people of all colors will be watching this, but I am talking to the white moderates on this call, the good, kind, tame fox, white moderates. We're the problem because we're not willing to create a lack of peace. I remember going to the women's rally on the day after Donald Trump was inaugurated. Tens and tens and tens of thousands of women gathering to use our voices. Some were there because they intended to come out of the women's rally or the one they went on in their city, around the country or around the world, to do something. And I want to ask you, ask yourself, look in your heart, have you done anything different since that day in 2017? I went there with a film crew. I went there and ended up in rural Alabama for 3 years because I want to use my voice for change. I want to use whatever I have to make this world better. I don't even have kids. It's not like I'm doing it for my next generation. I'm doing this because I fear that without kind, good people speaking up and speaking out to literally shut down the voices of the aggressive foxes, we're going to live in an aggressive fox world. That's it. And if you're not willing to do anything, you've got to be okay with the consequences. Welcome to the rise of the untamed fox. Welcome to the new world that we can co-create, the one that we want to make better for all people, not some people. This show is going to evolve. We're going to do lives. We're going to do recorded videos. Sometimes I'm going to come on here solo. Sometimes I will have a guest with me, but every single conversation is going to activate you, and it might make you uncomfortable, and that's okay. I'm not here to placate you. I'm not here to make you comfortable. There's some people who won't like me. That's okay too. My hope for you is that this conversation stimulates you in such a way that you share it. After this live stream ends and I post it, you can share it anywhere you want on social media. Invite people to come subscribe. If you have not hit the subscribe button for this channel, please do. The message from all of us needs to be shared, and I am happy to be the spokesperson of this movement. Let's do this. Let's invite humanity to wake the fuck up and remake this world ourselves, and not be the complacent victims of people who want to remake the world for them. This is what it's going to take. I am excited to go on this journey with you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this first conversation. Thank you for daring yourselves to show up, because what other option is there? So the untamed fox are of two types, those who want good and those who want bad. No. The untamed foxes are all types that were tamed foxes. They're good and they're kind, and they want people to have opportunity and choice. And they choose to use their voice, which is them stepping from their tame spot into the voice of the untamed fox. The aggressive foxes, they already have a voice. They're happy to speak up and tell you exactly how they feel. They don't have any problems. The problem is good, kind, moderate people who aren't willing to speak up. They don't like to disturb the peace. They don't want to make a racket. They don't want anybody to not like them. So they don't talk. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me, that I can take you on a journey and not leave you freaked out, but instead leave you inspired. I would love to know what action you choose to take coming out of this conversation, because as a person who's a tame fox, it would be like, this was great. What an amazing 48 minutes and 45 seconds. And now I'm going to go on my day and pretend nothing happened. What inspired action? What inspired movement? What inspired words can you come up with to anchor this in for you? I would love for you to come back into the comments on the thread in the YouTube channel under this video after you've anchored this in, and let me know. What are you choosing to do? I'll be back here next week at this time. This is going to be the place and the time of the rise of the untamed fox. I love it. Speak, use your words, type, use your pen. Complacency is so 2000s. It's 2022. It's time to use your voice. This is the rise of the untamed fox. I'll see you next week.